The prefrontal cortex takes forever to develop in humans. The connections are still being tweaked and reformed, like into late adolescence, early adulthood, which is when you tend to see mental illness pop up, right? So it's being massively reformed. Then you have about 10 years maybe of prime functioning of the prefrontal cortex. And then it starts going down again, and you end up being older and you start losing all that frontal function. So I look at this and you'd say, okay, you sit around episodic memory talks. We always say children are worse than adults at episodic memory. Older adults are worse than young adults at episodic memory. And I always would say, God, this is so weird. Why would we have this period of time that's so short when we're perfect, right? Or optimal. And I like to use that word optimal now because there's such a culture of optimization right now. And it's like, I realized I have to redefine what optimal is because for most of the human condition, I think we had a series of stages of life where you have basically adults saying, okay, young adults saying, I've got a child and, I'm part of this village and I have to hunt and forage and get things done. I need a prefrontal cortex so I can stay focused on the big picture and long haul goals. Now, I'm a child. I'm in this village. I'm kind of wandering around and I've got some safety and I need to learn about this culture because I know so little. What's the best way to do that? Let's explore. I don't want to be constrained by goals as much. I want to really be free, play and explore and learn. So you don't want a super tight prefrontal cortex. You don't even know what the goals should be yet, right? It's like if you're trying to design a model that's based on a bad goal, it's not going to work well, right? So then you go late in life and you say, well, why don't you have a great prefrontal cortex then? But I think, if you go back and you think how many species actually stick around naturally long after their childbearing years are over, after the reproductive years are over, like menopause, from what I understand, menopause is not all that common in the animal world, right? So why would that happen? And so I saw Alison Gopnik said something about this. So I started to look into this, about this idea that, really, when you're older in most societies, your job is no longer to form new episodic memories. It's to pass on the memories that you already have, this knowledge about the world, or what we call semantic memory, to pass on that semantic memory to the younger generations, pass on the culture. Even now in indigenous cultures, that's the role of the elders. And they're respected. They're not seen as, people who are past it and losing it. And I thought that was a very poignant thing, that memory is doing what it's supposed to throughout these stages of life.
So it is always optimal in a sense.
Yeah.
It's just optimal for that stage of life.
Yeah, and for the ecology of the system. So I looked into this and it's like another species that has menopause is orcas. Orca pods are led by the grandmothers, right? So they're not the young adults, not the parents or whatever, the grandmothers. And so they're the ones that pass on the traditions to the younger generation of orcas. And if you look, from what little I understand, different orca pods have different traditions. They hunt for different things. They have different play traditions. And that's a culture, right? And so in social animals, evolution, I think, is designing brains that are really around, it's obviously optimized for the individual, but also for kin. Mm-hmm. And I think that the kin are part of this, when they're a part of this intense social group, the brain development should parallel the nature of the ecology.
Well, it's just fascinating to think of the individual orca or human throughout its life in stages, doing a kind of optimal wisdom development. So in the early days, you don't even know what the goal is, and you figure out the goal and you kind of optimize for that goal and you pursue that goal. And then all the wisdom you collect through that, then you share with the others in the system, with the other individuals. And as a collective, then you kind of converge towards greater wisdom throughout the generation. So in that sense, it's optimal. Us humans and orcas got something going on.